Rest in peace to a legend taken before his time. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to The Crow. This is a movie I've wanted to see for a long time and just for one reason or another never really got around to. This is I know it's a revenge story. I believe it can be counted as a thriller and everything. I don't think it would be considered horror by any means. Um, and it stars Brandon Lee, the son of Bruce Lee, who unfortunately passed away on set during the filming of this movie. The film was completed and released as a tribute to him and has gained worldwide renown for the quality of the acting and filmmaking that was put into this. And people had already agreed that Brandon Lee had a huge career ahead of him. And his passing was so untimely and so unfair and unfortunate that it shook the world. And to this day, people still say that he would have been a massive star if he had lived. I don't think I've seen him in anything. I don't know if he's done many other movies besides this, but I don't think I've seen him in anything. And I've seen Bruce Lee, his father, in very little, if I'm being honest. So I'm going into this like without that kind of foreknowledge of this family's legacy of acting and all. At least just from a personal perspective, because I know the legacy. I understand the legacy there. Just as someone who hasn't really seen it personally. And I don't really know much about the film's plot outside of it being a revenge story. I think that I don't know if it's that this movie inspired the wrestler Sting to create his crow look for pro wrestling, or if it was the other way around. I don't know when Sting debuted that look. That's the thing. Because Sting is a classic wrestler and all, but he used to have a different gimmick and everything. I don't know. I don't know if one or the other is based off the other or not. I mean, maybe I can find out real quick. But another thing to note while I'm looking this up is that this movie is getting a remake. Starring Bill Skarsgård. And I don't know what I'm going to think about that because I haven't seen the movie yet. But I've seen like some still images and the look is very different. And they're probably going to try something different. Apparently the director, though, has said something along the lines of that he was really against this remake because the original stands as Brandon Lee's legacy. But at the same time, weren't there like sequels and all and like TV shows for The Crow? Okay, so from what I'm seeing here, Sting's Crow persona was started in 1996. Okay. And it is absolutely inspired by the movie. Okay. So, it is absolutely inspired by that, according to this. Let me see if I can find out more information real quick. Hmm. Yeah, because he started in the mid '80s, but he had like this surfer gimmick and everything at first. Trying to see if I can find like the specifics here. I was just reading from a blurb before on Google, so yeah, it was in 1996. He started growing out his hair. He had the black tights with the scorpion and everything. Trying to see like the very specific points here. Okay. So talking about how he began appearing in the rafters and all. Okay, according to this, he also Sting has also said that Scott Hall gave him the idea for the gimmick. Scott Hall passed the other year as well. He was a huge name pro wrestler for those who don't know. He also wrestled under the name Razor Ramon. But yeah, apparently he credits him for suggesting the idea of it. And Sting just recently retired while he was in AEW, and he's still been using elements of the Crow aspect ever since. But yeah, apparently, just straight up was absolutely inspired by this movie. So that's really interesting because like I've grown up a wrestling fan and I've known Sting most of my life, I would say. Pretty much since I started getting into wrestling and all. So it's going to be interesting to see this as well because this did inspire one of the greats in terms of pro wrestling, at least in terms of aesthetic and style and all. I've probably seen a couple random clips here and there from this movie. I don't remember much of anything in regards to that. I've probably seen them just super isolated and randomly spread about. So, and it's probably been quite a long time since I have seen anything. So it's not something I would remember at all. Uh, but like I said, I've been very interested in wanting to see this. I've just, for some reason or another, just never gotten around to it before. And it was put in as a donation reward for Venom, so we're doing it. Finally gonna be getting around to it. Hopefully it lives up to the hype. Hopefully it lives up to all of the love that it gets from fans. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the movie. So, all of that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. This poem is an interesting choice to use in here because ravens and crows are two different birds. Like, they're very similar. They're within the same family, but they are different birds. But I think more so the reason for using this here, for the usage of Edgar Allan Poe's famous poem, probably his most famous outside of maybe The Telltale Heart, um, is kind of the I almost said the lyrics, the phrasing of it and all, the wording of it. Eric Draven uses it in the film to send a message and everything. And I think it works in that regard. Now, I'm going to start off by actually talking about the trailer we reacted to at the end, the little bonus. So, this trailer is for a remake that's coming out, I guess, this summer. Starring Bill Skarsgård, the actor who famously ruined It for me. And I know, I might be in the minority on that. A lot of people really like the It remakes. I hated them. Like, it's not even a case of like, oh, they just weren't for me. No, I actually hated them. I think that they ruined the tone, the style, the feeling of the original miniseries with Tim Curry. Like, and the worst part is I felt that they were trying to be way too overly serious in the horror, and because of that it came across as, try hard. I never felt like any of it was scary. Honestly, there was things that scared me more about the original miniseries, because the remake movies just felt like they were trying way too hard, and because of that it always felt like, forced. And I know that's not Bill Skarsgård's fault. He's just the actor. I understand that, and I want to make that clear. He's not the one at fault here. It's the writing, it's the directing, it's the changes that were made. And I'm making that distinction because the same thing seems to be happening here in the trailer for this remake. I'm not blaming Bill Skarsgård, but the writing and direction, at least based off of this trailer, mind you, that could just be the trailer. But also, mind you, I really don't like the design that they're going for with him, with all like the body tattoos and all. It's just like, no, that doesn't work. But just based off the trailer, from the writing, the direction, the gore, the way it's shot and everything, it's just like, you just didn't get it, did you? It's like this trailer is just like, you just completely missed the point of this movie. Like, they got the entire true love aspect of it, which is definitely what the film is about, but holy shit. It's like the focus on like the blood and the gore in that trailer, the hyper violence of it seems to be like on full display, and it's like, that doesn't feel right at all. Not to mention, they seem to have changed things, which is not necessarily a surprise or, like, not inherently bad. But it's just like, the entire plot seems to be predicated on a completely different circumstance. The murders of Eric and Shelley seem to be completely different for different reasons. The rape seemed to be taken out, unless that just wasn't in the trailer. But based on what we saw in the trailer, it seems to have just been taken out. Which, mind you, I understand why. But what they did to her was kind of the reason why Eric couldn't rest. The reason why he came back. Just a simple suffocating murder like that is just like, that doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel like this movie. And I'm not gonna be one to go on the entire train like I guess the director of the original movie did, about like, oh, because this movie is like dedicated to Brandon Lee and was like finished in his honor and everything, it feels wrong to have it be remade. I'm not going to go there. Because the thing is, this is based off of a comic book. It's an adaptation already. It's like, that's not really valid in a way of a complaint. Because it's like, yes, this movie is known for Brandon Lee's performance, and his performance was amazing, but at the same time, it's like, this is still based off a comic book. Honestly, this is just a new adaptation of the comics, more so than a maybe direct remake of this original film from the 90s. But at the same time, you have to acknowledge, and I have to acknowledge here myself, that it basically is still a remake. And people are still going to make that comparison no matter what. And it just seems like it's like more focused on, again, the hyper violence and the revenge story. Even though it says it's about love and everything in the trailer, the visuals, it kind of goes against that, I feel. The visuals are kind of like contradicting the statements they're making. They really should have, one, if they're going to have the trailer center around that idea, they really should have had the trailer focus more on that. Two, it just, it really, the trailer makes it come across as just an angry revenge tale. Literally the only thing that says otherwise is the fact that they're saying it out loud. But the visuals, every single visual says otherwise. It's just, it's not good. Not to mention, it looks like just a lot in general has changed. It seems like it's only like the bare bones concept is still there, with just a lot about it being, changed for the sake of modern times and everything. It comes across more like an action movie than a dramatic thriller. And that was my issue. That was one of my issues. I didn't like the trailer. If that wasn't apparent by like my reaction to it, which wasn't much, I wasn't saying anything. I don't know if my annoyance was getting across on my face very well, but I was annoyed pretty much the entire time. It's just like, it didn't look good at all. But let's talk about the actual 94 movie. This was great. I think people over exaggerate how good it is a bit, but that's, common as hell. People tend to like really get like into a movie, and especially a movie that has like an actor who passed away while filming it. It's like people will tend to gravitate towards that and will praise it to high heavens just because of that. The emotional attachment will like be the focus of how people rate it, because they don't, it's like, oh, Brandon Lee died making this movie, they don't want to rate it low. And I'm not saying rate it low, no, I'm just saying they're going to rate it like and treat it as if it's like the best movie ever, and it's like, it's really good. But I think people do over exaggerate how good it is. That being said, like I said, it's really good. And I think the best way to describe this movie is that it is probably the most gothic, edgy movie I have seen. And that is what is perfect about it. That is, well, not perfect, but you know what I mean. That is exactly what it needed to be. The tone, the style, the darkness of like literally every shot. I don't think there was a single shot at this that didn't take place at night and wasn't dark as fuck. It sold Eric Draven's emotions, his pain, his misery. He was lost in darkness. And the only thing fueling him was his love for Shelley. it wasn't just a revenge story for the sake of revenge. It was revenge to, to allow him to feel like Shelley could rest better. To allow him to feel like the love of his life, could be at peace. And whether or not you think that that would be the case, no matter how you view her spirit coming to take him back with her at the end, he needed closure for her because of how much he loved her. If it was just his own death, I don't think he would have ever come back. I don't think he would have ever felt a need to. He wouldn't have had that unfinished business if it was just him. And honestly, this goes in line with what I said about the trailer. I do not think he would have come back if it was just a single strangling like that, just a suffocation. I think the fact that it was so gruesome and horrific that she was raped violently before being killed, that's what gave him the unfinished business. That's what made it so much worse for him. And why he couldn't just leave it be, why he couldn't just rest. Because he saw the love of his life being violated in such a horrific way, and that's what he needed to make right. Again, it's not about just revenge in its barest concept. It's about peace of mind and believing that he's going to be able to put Shelley at peace this way. Which they almost seem to kind of go into a little more in the trailer for the new one. It's talking about, oh, you have a time limit to save her and stuff. It's like, what? But I think by saying that kind of thing out loud, if that is what that is supposed to be going for, then I don't think that works. I think it works better when you extrapolate that just from what is being said and what is being shown. Basically an entire case of show don't tell. They're saying way too much in the trailer for the new one. It just didn't work. Brandon Lee's performance was excellent. He was absolutely fantastic. Like I said, I don't think I've seen him in anything else. I don't know how much he did prior to his passing. But he definitely had a lot of talent. And definitely had the potential to be a big star. I absolutely believe that. The other actors all did a pretty good job too. The boss, I don't know his name. The boss was very corny. And his overly deep, gruff, raspy smoker voice was definitely very silly. And there's a lot of corniness in his lines and all, but the actor still gave it his all, and I think he still did a good job. It's a comic book movie. There's gonna be some corniness. Tony Todd apparently was the one guy, and it's like, oh, did not recognize you at all. And I've recognized Tony Todd in other things, so it's like, it had to be the glasses. The glasses threw me off, I think. But again, like I said, I didn't recognize his voice either, so that's just wild. Oh, and I wanted to look up, I forgot to look this up, but let me do so real quick. I wanted to look up the cop. Let me see if I can find him real quick. Ernie Hudson. Yeah, because I said he might look a little familiar, but I couldn't, place it. I might have seen him in one movie or so. Let me see. Oh, he was in the Ron Clark story? I reacted to that not that long ago. Was he the principal? He might have been the principal in that. Okay. Let me see here. He's been acting since 76, according to this. Oh! He was in Ghostbusters. He was Winston in Ghostbusters. Wow. I really did not recognize him as that here. Of course, it's been a while since I've seen Ghostbusters, to be fair. Yeah, and the second Ghostbusters only came out like 5 years before this. So he wasn't like that much older. I just didn't recognize him there. Of course, I'm not like the biggest Ghostbusters fan. I like it, but it's not something I think I would like instantly remember everything from. He was in Dragon Ball Evolution? What? Okay. Also, Dragon Ball Evolution. Oh. He voiced Lucius Fox in Batman Bad Blood. I've seen that. Okay. Interesting. That's genuinely interesting. Also, he was apparently in the 2016 Ghostbusters and was in Ghostbusters Afterlife and Frozen Empire. Though in the 2016 one, he just, I guess, had a cameo as a different character. But in the new ones, in Afterlife and Frozen Empire, he is Winston again. Okay. That's very interesting. I did not even recognize him as that. So I have seen him in other things, clearly. I just didn't recognize him for the big thing I should have recognized him for, I feel. Um, yeah, like I said, I like that it was so dark and grungy and goth, let's be honest. Because I feel like that was the tone it should have gone for. Especially being a comic book movie like this. A lot of people, especially nowadays, complain when comic book movies are too dark like that. Like the DCU is constantly like attacked for that, and it's just like that's the visual style it should go for. What? I've never understood that as a complaint. It's just because they're so used to Marvel, and that's not what Marvel's visual style is. But DC's visual style is a lot more dark and grungy, especially Batman. Like that's how it's supposed to be. It's like the original like Tim Burton movies and all were like that. Maybe not to this comical of a degree, but still. And it's just like this felt right. This felt like it was what it was supposed to be in terms of tone and visual style and all. Also, kind of going back to the trailer for the new one again, I don't like that the gore was like as like notable as it was. Like with the big blood sprays and everything, the really like graphic depictions of that all. I don't like that. I don't think that works for this. I think that like takes away from the feeling of this movie. I liked that this film didn't have all of that gore. That it wasn't so aggressively like bloody and all. It feels it would feel weird and off and would just take away from the tone of the film. It's just it was a really weird choice to have that in there. Again, I really like that this felt more again grungy and goth. I feel like that was the right way to handle this. Um, the music was great. Both the music that was diegetic and non-diegetic. Eric's guitar riffing on the roof and all was pretty fun. But even like the background music during different scenes, whether it was like instrumental or an actual song, yeah, I liked it all. I had no issue with any of it, and I definitely feel like it fit this film pretty well. Um, I think this was good. I think this was genuinely good. Now I wanted to check real quick as well. Last thing I want to check here. Um, oh geez, that's not what I meant to click. I mentioned I had heard that this movie had like multiple sequels and all. So I wanna kind of look that up real quick here. Okay. So in 1996, a couple years after this, there was a sequel called The Crow City of Angels. And I'm not looking like for like specific information or anything, trying to avoid that. Oh, but apparently it was the final acting role, the sequel of, and I'm gonna mispronounce this. I apologize. Toi Trang, the Vietnamese American actress who was Trini Kwan in the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. She was the Yellow Ranger. She passed away really young. Apparently, she was in that though. There was also a 1998 TV series called The Crow's Stairway to Heaven, a third film in 2000 called The Crow's Salvation, a fourth film called The Crow Wicked Prayer in 2005, and there was supposed to be a sequel called The Crow 2037 that was going to be directed by Rob Zombie, but it was never made. And now there's the new remake, of course. Um, so yeah, there are a lot of sequels to this, and I don't know how good any of these movies are comparatively. I don't even know if like there I don't know. I'm not gonna look up info just in case, but I don't know if they are like even about the same story or if it's just like, oh, different characters, same kind of situation. Um, but it feels weird to me, like to make a sequel to this movie 2 years after it was released. Um, when the main star of this movie died while filming it. Like, am I the only one who thinks that's really fucking weird and kind of gross? Like, that is that is pure capitalism for you. It's like you should at least, if you're gonna make a sequel or if you're gonna just do more or a remake or something, at least give it some fucking time. 2 years, it's just like, geez, that's like real. That's too quick. That is way too quick to do a sequel after Brandon Lee's death. The only way that like you could probably excuse it is if it were already in the plannings before he passed. But even so, it should have then been canceled, I would think. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know anything about the sequels, so I don't even know if people see them as good or not. I'd be willing to give them a chance, though. They might be good. I don't know. There's like three sequels, so there's like four of them in total. So, geez. But yeah, this was this was very good, and the trailer I watched for the remake does not look very good. In fact, it looks the opposite of very good. But I mean, the trailer might be misleading. It's happened before. Um, Either way, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of The Crow? And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See you all next time.